In this video today, I'm going to compare the two different Pete's Dragon movies. The one from 1977, that's a live-action movie with an animated dragon in it, and also the 2016 movie, which is one of the Disney live-action remakes. It's like a reimagining of the story, to be honest, because it's pretty different when compared to the 1977 movie. For one, it's a live-action movie with a live-action dragon, but even besides that, a lot of the other details are different. I think it's one of the better Disney live action remakes. Going to be comparing those two movies to the Percy Jackson movies, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, as well as Sea of Monsters, which are adaptations of the first two Rick Riordan and Percy Jackson books. First of all, when you look at highest Rotten Tomatoes score for each franchise, the Case of Pete's Dragon, the 2016 film, has the higher score between the two of an 88%. Then when you look at Percy Jackson, both of those movies are rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. The first movie, Lightning Thief, has the higher score, but it still only has a 49%, so Pete's Dragon easily wins. Then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, in the case of Pete's Dragon, that 1977 movie has a 56%, which isn't good, but it's not too bad. It's almost fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Whereas if Percy Jackson's Sea of Monsters has the lower score of only 42%, so you got Pete's Dragon winning again. Then when you look at average score, in the case of Pete's Dragon, it has an average of 72, whereas Percy Jackson has an average of 45. Pete's Dragon wins again. But then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, this is the one area where Percy Jackson does win, because there's only a 7% gap between the two scores, whereas with Pete's Dragon you have a higher gap of 32%. Now let's look at my personal opinion. Pete's Dragon's already going to win this debate regardless, and actually I do prefer Pete's Dragon to Percy Jackson as well, pretty easily. In the case of Percy Jackson, this is a franchise I do have nostalgia for, because I've read the first 5 Rick Riordan and Percy Jackson novels multiple times. I've read the Heroes of Olympus books. I've read the first Trials of Apollo book. I haven't read all of the Rick Riordan novels, but I definitely have read some of them. And I actually really enjoyed first season of the new Percy Jackson TV show on Disney Plus. When I saw it, I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for a long time. This actually feels like a proper adaptation of that story. It feels like this is actually made by people who understand what made the books work, what made them fun. Whereas with the movies, man, I think both of them just fail to really capture the right tone, vibe, energy. They fail to understand what made the books work. I think that aging up the kids was a big mistake. In the book, you have these kids who are initially 12 years old, and that's what you see in the TV show as well. This helps out because, for example, it means that it's more believable that Percy trusts Luke initially before learning the truth, because you have a 12-year-old kid who's going to a camp for the first time, learning the truth about himself, and you have this older kid that seems like a good guy, seems to be helping him out. So you're like, yeah, of course Percy's going to trust this guy. But in the movie, Luke is older. All the kids are older. Luke comes off as shady from the beginning, so it makes it more obvious when you have the twists later on. When it comes to Pete's Dragon, I think that both movies are good. In the case of the 2016 film, I like that it's a simple story, one that is devoid of cynicism. It's an earnest, heartwarming, feel good kind of movie. I like that you have characters that are antagonistic without being full on villains. What I mean is, you have characters that end up being an obstacle. They end up capturing the dragon, but they're not presented as just full on evil, mustache twirling bad guy. No, they still actually care about other people, so they're not just a full on evil, villainous people. No, they have good qualities as well. In the case of the 1977 movie, by contrast, you have characters that are just so clearly the bad guys. There's nothing redeeming about them at all. What I'm talking about here are the people who are chasing after Elliot. You're like, yeah, they are clearly bad guys. No way around that. I like the story in both cases. I think the 2016 movie is a bit more emotion to it, or you have this boy, Elliot, who loses his parents, as we see in the opening scene, and then he's found by this dragon. The two of them form a bond, and then this boy meets a family that try to teach him what it's like to live amongst humans, try to bring him back into society. And by the end of the movie, our main boy Elliot is with that human family, but he still clearly hasn't forgotten about his dragon. I mean, the visuals are good in both movies. I like the characters. So this one is pretty easy for me. I'm like, well, yeah, of course, Pete's dragon is better. I really wish the Percy Jackson movies were actually good. I would have loved so much if this could have been a vibrant, robust franchise. Unfortunately, that's not the way things ended up playing out. And that'll be it for this video. See y'all later.